Hi everyone, it's Jen from Mind's Eye. So we are gonna go look into John Smith and Pocahontas. And this came up with an encounter during one of the Roanoke videos that we did. And this was something of odd. And when it was something of odd, you couldn't get it done. And so when we couldn't get it done, we couldn't understand why. This was like a hard video to get out, very hard, like Anne Frank. So with that being said, do it done. It is a do it done. We're gonna try to get through this as much as we can in one video. Now, as we were saying with John Smith and Pocahontas, it was that Pocahontas was Native American. She was new at her gifts. She was new at settling. She didn't always like it. So she actually had somebody with her. They had to teach her. It was very playful at first when she first found it. And when she found this, you couldn't even understand how well it was. So when this is new, usually the elders of the tribe would sit there in the community and they would sit and laugh because they knew what was going on, but this young girl just did not. And she would just go to the water and she would go do what she had to do and then come back and it would be a whole disturbance. And it'd be parties and celebrations and get-togethers, and there'd be a disturbance. And she didn't understand what was happening. She would just normally do it. So they had to train her, and she had to go away. And so when she had to go away, it was actually hard. It was at that point when she learned it was best for her to be alone. It was best for her not to marry. It was best for her to not, but she had to have somebody with her because it went to the point of a lot of things. She wasn't at the point where she could protect herself. So that is why a lot of people would surround her. So when that actually happens, you have to go about it in a way unknown to get it known. And that there's always a reason why that's unspoken word. And so when that would happen, she would just be point blank. She would just be point blank. She would just go, no, 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 no. It's just this, and this, and go through. So let's look at the cards and see what she was like. Because John Smith was really someone of her partner, because she was someone who could do like high priestess, like sorcery, not to that highest degree naturally, but literally, when it all came out, all these things that were pertinent to her, you couldn't understand what done meant. It ran with it. All right. So with that, there was opposing views of the ego. That really was hard. So when I actually see natural elements and natural events happen, like storms, like this lightning bolt come through, it would awaken her up even more to a point of imbalance. And this is the Queen of Forces in reverse. The King of Keys, he was her key, John Smith. I don't see them actually as husband and wife. I don't see them as lovers. I do not see them as parents. I see them as like law enforcement partners, balanced alchemists that need each other. So when I see the Queen of Roses, I actually see this in reverse, saying it was a hold up, hold up. So when I see the Queen of Scrolls, it says documented they were married, they did have children, they were foster children. She's showing me after an event that happened in Roanoke, that all of a sudden it was an epiphany that said, go get the children now. When you see the treasure in reverse, it was a loss that came in and it was harsh. And she would have been like a 38, but really she was like so old and so already from winnings and epiphanies and gaining and gifting through anything that she couldn't even believe what she saw. It was such an ebb and flow of the change of the tide down to the creek flow that when they saw the bear and they saw the fox and they saw all natural elements come to a halt stop when they were hunting, they couldn't understand that the King of Scrolls, who they couldn't document it, what had happened. They're seeing me a watermill come through on that wheel churning, and there was a tent that was in Roanoke that was like law enforcement meeting house that it couldn't grow anymore. So when I see summer and winter in reverse, there was a fall of something. The master artesian, this was hard and all and Hall acted. That the karmic trench you couldn't dig. So when I see Roanoke and I see it like the Patriot movie, and I see the celebration and I see them eating their seafood and sitting in the sun and gaining and gathering, like we were talking about JFK, sitting in the sun and actually gaining what he needed that the light of the world couldn't understand what had happened. It was a solar eclipse she showed me quickly that actually ebbed it all out, that they couldn't believe it could go that far. So when you actually are someone who is in nature all day long and you're a hunter and a fisher and a gatherer and you see the changes in the elements, that when you look at this, there's no documentation, the Akashic Library in reverse. So with that being said, you just couldn't even believe it. There was opposing forces of the two worlds. This was Sangha community. It was an upset up to an apple cart to where people even wanted to what they did, like Santeria, blood magic, urine magic. They wanted to do nasty things because something was not right. I see them. She showed me a glimpse quickly in mediumship of her at night with John Smith walking to that beach and having a meeting. There was 13-fold gold she just put in my mouth and having it done, have it done now. So when we went to the architect went, no, no, this is something of a key. It was like I can't even get it out. It was destruction of that watermill that where even the physician, the divine physician, couldn't even gain and gather up. There was something about this watermill that actually was what they talked about was slew, and we couldn't even get slew out. So as she's showing me what she knows what I'm thinking about, that slew was muck for them. She's showing me how it is on a beach on a muck. A lot of times the mussels are in a muck in a bay. Lay down and go about. It basically is something of like a hypnotic state of putting things together of individuals, even up to animals, manipulation of the highest degree that you couldn't turn back sands of time. She is showing me how they picked up the sand and like felt it and let it drop where you couldn't feel it. The texture of the sand was different. So when they documented this, it was all go a boat and get a ray, REA. But it wasn't Ray. And all of a sudden they're like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand. And like we were saying in Roanoke, these were people who actually were profound and they were highly intelligent. So for them to say, I just don't understand was actually a big deal. It was a really big deal. So when spring and autumn actually came in, and you see summer, what was in the summer month? She's showing me sand, she's showing me the mussels, she's showing me the fish. I hear pescata, I hear uh goa ray, but it's spelt different. There was no continuance on. They saw natural, supernatural to their degree because they hadn't seen it in nature of forces of the northern lights, of the supermoons. She's showing me the constellations. She's showing me the biggest one was Big Dipper for pertinence. The journey goes no travel whatsoever for you, but we're stuck here. Where's the K? So when you went into the tent on that meeting night, John Smith and Pocahontas, what did you see? Because I see this as it is the Ark of the Covenant with the tent with something that is a safe. It was a remnant of remains of a dun. She's showing me bones, large bones. It was a breaking of a commitment, a contract of foretold and told of passed down from generations that the warrior, even the archangels, those who did not always align or they were of archangel, of angels, of anything, actually stood and next to them. That the king of forces who I see is the hunter in this card, couldn't even be still enough to get ready to go. So when I'm seeing the waterfall in this, which is the Six of Horses, she's showing me she did see the waterfall. She saw the pine. She saw in North Carolina. She saw another state of mind and she's pointing to the right side of her head, but she said it really was the left, that the children must come first. So when I see Uriel and the Sphinx come through of the angel natural of this, you can't see it enough with the Great Sphinx. It is a bow down and a pray to get it done because aligning oneself with the pyramids of Giza, with the stars all lined up as it usually does every so often was the greatest movement in the last 24 to 48 hours, at least in the current date and time, to the highest point coming in because you couldn't get anything done without a listen in. So there was a something of aligning and a listen and alignment of getting something done, but there's more to get out about these two. All right. There's a lot to get out of this deck. A lot. I don't know why she's showing me the number 40. I do see a 42. There was no newness about what had happened. There was no reunion. It was alone. It was survive. It was go alive. It was be alive. And no, it was like bones move, matter move, low move, and so move. Like it was a rush. I'm seeing something of a nasty nature come through. It was skill craft what came through on a dig that it actually was still force. This was a like law enforcement, this energy that came through that made Roanoke go away. And it made her and John Smith have an actual legal marriage with children. It was something of an intuitive download that she had to do. There was something of a imbalance that you couldn't do. To the high priestess of working her magic, when I see it come through, you can't even believe how to do it. She said it was something of a force of nature. It was something that was never done. It was something of uh she says it was deceased. It was a deceased remains of something that was caught of a dig. And when you see it, you actually see there was a working of one's magic still. How can someone's this was odd. Like how can one's magic still come through even after death, post-mortem? It was something unseen. It was something that she was not new to. She had been around this before. It was something that, but it was something of a source. When you see this, I'm seeing Chichen Itchen, I'm seeing Aztec, I'm seeing Mayan, I'm seeing a go for gold. There's something about Canada. There's something of a family that is like this that they can't explain what happens. I hear like this. There is a figuring out. There is difficulty after that encounter up to a high dishonor, especially with males. It is a small offering. It is a go for it. I do see the beaver. I do see hypervigilance because I do see a Pocahontas sitting like this. Turbulent in force or smooth sailing of going through with a Six of Swords. I do see the Page of Wands. There was no impulsivity, but this was high impulsivity because they're pointing to the frontal lobe. The Four of Wands in reverse, there was no like get-togethers, no get-togethers whatsoever. She's showing me 1609. The Knight of Cups in reverse, you can't even get it done hard and fast enough at all. You can't even show it at all. So when you show it, you have to say, no, there was some sort of justice that came in that has to be known to be it known. Now she's showing me the energy that this dig that they had done that disturbed everything was like a force of nature to get it done of a corrected way path of no north. And I see Maine, and I'm seeing a line down the path of a mountain ridge of getting it a bow and arrow. There's something about the ridge line of Appalachia through New England all the way down that is an alleviation of a struggle. the wheel literally show says SHEW shoes, basically means there was nothing to be had, no complete cycle. Now, with John Smith, this was a wish fulfillment for him. He was in such a long pause, highly confirmed that you just can't get it done at all. But basically, logic was rest. Logic was awe. This was a man that has to get this all out. He couldn't run. He couldn't done. He couldn't bun. I'm gonna have to make a part two. But basically, there was so much to talk about this. It was highly paranormal. It was highly almost UFO-like. It was highly something, but they weren't nervous or scared. But when they saw what was found that caused a disturbance of nature so forceful that they had concern for men, women, and children to all nature, that you couldn't believe, like, this was an individual, this man was saying, I finally get a break, like this is like big. And here's his partner saying, I think we need to adopt kids and get married. Because this is not what we're thinking. That's what she's getting. He's thinking, let's go for it. So when I see it, I see, yeah, it was foreseen to do it and get it done. And that's all you need to know. We'll go to part two within so many days because that one was rough. But all you need to know is that there was something that is like normal criminal activity today that's hard to explain, of high forceful nature, that you just can't put your finger on until it's in your face. And that's all they want us to see for part one. With that being said, we'll take a break and we will talk to you soon.